The closure of borders and implementation of lockdown regulations to combat COVID-19 in South Africa has had consequences for the well-being of foreign nationals, many of which wrestled with the separation of their families and uncertainty of their migration status.
My name is Sharon Ikambara, and I'm the head of the Refugee and Migrant Rights Program at Lawyers for Human Rights. As soon as the level 5 lockdown regulations were promulgated, part of that was that all refugee reception offices from the Department of Home Affairs were closed, and a moratorium was sort of granted, which is an extension of all visas. And the consequence of that is that you have a temporary document which makes it near impossible to live a decent life. So you struggle with opening a bank account, you struggle with getting your children into school, you struggle with every time I put in my ID when it's required, it occurs to me just what huge burden it is not to have proper documentation. And so that problem was exacerbated during the lockdown. While our government made available things like the COVID grant and made allowances for UIF, but foreign nationals were excluded from this. And that was a serious infringement of their basic right to life and to dignity and their basic human rights. And so the Department of Health didn't have the decency of informing all the relevant bodies in the country of this legislation to extend and verify people's papers. And again, we don't have the capacity to assist the thousands of people that need help, so it's not adequate. That people have to only get recourse when there's an intervention, and they have almost the privilege of getting access to a lawyer.
My name is Chioma Antoinette Dumela. I'm South African/Nigerian. My dad is Nigerian and my mom is South African. During lockdown, my dad had declined in health very rapidly, or suddenly, rather. So what happened was he was rushed to the hospital one evening. It was very touch and go. I wasn't sure whether or not he was going to be able to make it. And then 2 weeks after that, he had passed away, which that provided a lot of other issues because we were forced to bury him within the 2 weeks. And we were given grace of those 2 weeks because most deaths that happened during that time in COVID were forced to bury within a week. So we were given 2 weeks. And that was quite tough because in that time, he's Nigerian, so family from that side weren't able to come. And the option to fly him back to Nigeria, to bury him back in Nigeria wasn't on the table for us because that was like a big struggle for us regulation-wise or navigating that, yeah.
Cool. So my name is Holman Manuel Januario. I'm from Mozambique. Originally I was born there, Mozambique Beira, so then eventually moved to South Africa. It's been the longest time we've been here. We moved here in 2006. So I have 54 days or so left on my visa. So it's like, okay, I can't apply for a PR anymore. I wanted to apply and get everything done this year. So next year and going onwards, like probably the rest of my life, you could say, I can feel relaxed in South Africa. But because the VFS closed, Home Affairs closed, police clearance came out late, like now my 1 year that I felt like I could, at least wait for my visa to come out, it won't exactly come out this year anymore because I couldn't even apply to begin with. So what I have to do then, I have to either apply for critical skills. So luckily I qualified for that. With traveling from South Africa to Mozambique, let's say right now it's in January, my visa's finished, I'm now seen as a visitor. To go to Mozambique, we would probably use a bus. Most cases we will use a bus. In addition to that, you have to also have your COVID test done. I think it's 72 hours or so, 48 hours before your travel. Let's say, cool, I got my COVID test done. I got my bus ticket for Monday. Now I'm gonna go travel. So we're traveling to Mozambique. I get to the border, show them my COVID test results and stuff like that, and then I get to Mozambique. Now I'm in Mozambique. Now the situation now goes to where I have to now quarantine because I'm coming from South Africa. So you have to quarantine for 14 days, and then once your 14 days are over, then you're able to almost operate again normally in Mozambique. So it would have been easier before COVID, before lockdown, because what I'd be able to do is just have to get to the border, stamp my passport. I could literally come back on the same day. So yeah, it's tough being a global citizen in that sense, you know. Home is not always where you're born. It's sometimes as well where you live, and like currently, you know, at present.
Although there's been a relaxation of lockdown policies in South Africa, the movement of foreign nationals into the country or back to their own is still being governed by strict policies.